Hello, this is the very first episode of the Black Cloud Collective podcast. I am one of your hosts. I am Scott, aka Neon Demon.
And I am Femi, aka Aero.
Brilliant. So let's talk about what the Black Cloud Collective is, shall we? So
Yes.
it's
Why
it's
is the
not
cloud black?
why is the collective cloud like, right? What is the
Yes.
Black
Why
Cloud
is it cloud
Collective?
collective? There you
So
go. Got it.
let's go through it, shall we? So what is it? For me, the Black Cloud Collective, it started off as an outlet to talk about video games, to write about video games. I created a whole website just to write about video games, pretty much. And I think we're at the point now where I'm ready to talk about it. We'll create this podcast. This is obviously the very first episode. It's like my passion is video games, but this platform isn't just for video games. It's for opinions, really. Obviously, I'll bring some to the table, and Femi will bring his things to the table. It could be any form of media, anything that we're kind of interested in, really. I'd say.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I think it's basically, and I like how you put it. It's just both of us bringing something that we're both passionate about, and literally just having a conversation about it. It's basically how you'd have a conversation with one of your friends, one of your mates, over Discord, over while you're playing a game of Overwatch. You might hear Overwatch a lot, but just basically that, just very very casual. Our experiences, our opinions.
Yeah, I mean, we both have our strengths and weaknesses in different areas.
I have no weaknesses. I'm Omega Alpha. Thank you very much.
It's gonna just carry on. Yeah. So we'll eventually get into the groove of how this podcast will turn it out, how it'll turn out. We'll maybe eventually go live at some point when we're confident, when we've ironed out everything we need to iron out. But pretty much this is basically a platform for us to just talk video games. I mean, we talk video games anyway. Why not just put it out there, and eventually we'll get some more people in on the conversation? Because I think, like, for example, my background is graphic design, and I bring that to the table. You bring your sparkling personality and your Twitch journey. I mean, you've obviously. Well, let's start with you, shall we? We'll talk about what led you to this position, really, because you've been a Twitch streamer now for a number of years, haven't you?
I have indeed. I think almost like 3.5 years, but majority of those years, or maybe I guess parts of it, I wasn't as consistent. I know it's a very popular thing for streamers, or just streaming consistency. But yeah, I have been streaming quite a bit since then. And for me, I love getting to talk about games, like you mentioned. I just like chatting. I just like talking in general. And the opportunity to share all that interest with different people from everywhere, all over the world, and also be able to, just going back, be able to do this with one of my close, by the way, Neon Demon is one of my close friends. We've known each other for many years, and just like you said, we talk about stuff, games, movies, animes, whatever we find interesting. We talk about it, and we're like, we should probably just share this with anyone that wants to listen, right? So that opportunity to sort of do that with you, and sort of have a platform to sort of chat about those things, and just keep it very casual, very relaxed, just hang out. Yeah, that's been the main reason, and I'm getting paid for it, I think.
We'll talk about that later. but no, you're completely right. I mean, we both have our own end game, don't we? You want to be one of those super rich Twitch streamers like Ninja and Pokimane.
I mean, look, I do it for the art. Nah, you need to subscribe to me, please. I need money. I
need those subs, man. I need those subs.
No, honestly, like I've said this before. I think for me, yes, not being able to live this life where you're, earning money from what you love doing, I think is what most people would love to do. Make money off their passion. So yeah, it would be amazing. But honestly, I've been enjoying the journey, and I think even for you now that obviously you created this platform, this BCC. Always have to be careful not to missay that word, by the way. But yes, now now that you created this platform, I think for you, even your own opportunity to really dive into what you really love talking about, games and everything related to that industry, you would love to see this grow and to be able to connect with so many people within the space as well. So yeah, I think
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, it didn't come out of nowhere, did it? Really, we back in
No.
lockdown, we did create, like me, you, and our friend Adam. We did create
Yeah.
the Above the Fold. You know, we created a Discord, we created a podcast. You know, that's still going on.
Yeah.
But during that experience, I realised that I really enjoy writing about video games, and
Yeah.
you know, and where I find being in the front of the camera, because I did try a Twitch streamer for a while, and I loved it. I really loved it, but I got to a point where I was just, mate, I felt like a social battery where I get to a point where I'm tired of hearing my own voice every day, and as much as I enjoyed talking to people, and you pretty much you're talking to a lot of people at once, and
very
I
true.
don't know about you, but well, I struggle playing a video game and talking at the same time. Like if you catch me playing Destiny, I'm usually quiet as a mouse. But it was around that time that I realised I really, you know, I would research the topics. I would, you know, put it all in our run of show, and I was like, you know, I really enjoyed this. And I thought, well, how can I take this further? And I thought, I can write about video games. You know, I pretty much have my Instagram all the time. You know, when people get up in the morning, they read the newspaper. I go check out IGN. I go check out Windows Central. I absolutely love the industry.
And that's the thing. Like, I feel like you do that religiously. Like, I think the way I am as a gamer, I'm probably more towards of a casual gamer, maybe perhaps. But you deep dive into sort of everything behind the scenes, and I think that's the part that I'm able, obviously myself, I've been able to gain knowledge from. But I just love getting into it. I just love, give me the game, let me shoot someone or slap someone. That's basically my approach, you know, to games in general. And then anything related, obviously there's some news I listen to, but I like that you are very like, you have a real passion for like that journalistic side of the gaming industry.
And I think that's what makes this duo work, is that we both bring something unique to the table. And it's true. I mean, you are more of a social creature than I am. I mean, you've recently passed your 1,000 sub stream, haven't you?
Not 1,000 sub. I'm not there yet. I would love to get to 1,000 sub, but no, yeah, getting to 1K plus followers. I mean, I'm very thankful for it. But yeah, that's true. You know,
See, that's where I get YouTube and Twitch mixed up, because YouTube, it's subscribers,
and then
it's
Twitch is followers. Yeah, and
so,
of course, I would love to get 1,000 subs. It's up to me. Thank you.
But like you. We'll go back to you. I know we're going backwards and forwards here, but stay with us. And I've told you this many times, I do admire that when you have a project in mind, you'll run at it. Like, it was you who inspired me and Adam to go on this journey with you. We both were at the same time. Adam was tinkering with it. I was out of my depth, I'll be honest. I remember asking so many questions about OBS especially. But you are all in. You have days dedicated to streaming. You pay professionals to get your videos done. You're in. You are fully in. And I think, and I've mentioned this in the past. I mean, I've got it on my website. We've got a little blurb about each of us in ATF, in Above the Fold, about what we bring to the table. And I don't think I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today if it weren't for you. I know, yeah, soak it up, but that's the kind of, I've always been a creative person, but I've never quite known how to channel that creativity, and I think Black Cloud Collective is my way of channeling it, I guess. I get to write about video games. I get to design stuff. Like at the moment, you know, I do these daily. I call them infographics, but that's not really right. They're more like news posters.
Basically, just like what's like snippets of what's happening currently.
Yeah.
Bite-sized information, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, I put out these infographics on, you know,
Pretty cool, by the way. It really is.
I'm always tweaking. So I put out these. I'm trying to put out at least one or two every single day, and I've been doing that for a few weeks now. And you know, it's not just news as well. I'm learning more and more as I go on about what people might be interested in. So I've put, in case you missed it, you know, so it's a recap of the week. I've got, you know, this day in gaming. So for example, on the 17th, get this, GTA 5 will be 10 years old.
It's crazy.
Yeah, right. Do you remember where you was? Do you remember where you was?
10 years.
Because I remember exactly where I was when that game came out. I just finished a shift at the pub when I was still working at the pub, and I was like, oh, it's almost midnight. Oh, I'll just pop to the supermarket and I'll pick up GTA 5. It was literally on a whim. I literally travelled from one side of the town to the other, and by the time I got there, there was a queue from the back of the store to the front. And I was like, you know what? I've not got work tomorrow. And I ended up bumping into a friend, right? And we ended up being the last two people to get a copy of GTA 5.
Wow.
Yeah, right. That was 10 years ago.
So you didn't have any like you weren't part of people that were eagerly anticipating GTA 5? Like you weren't like
I was, but because of I definitely was, because like,
I'm not judging. I'm just saying.
No, it's the circumstances of that time was because I just started this job at the pub.
Right.
I didn't know what day it was, to be honest. It wasn't until someone reminded me. I you know, because I was working split shifts. I was working stupid hours a day.
Yeah, I mean, I was crazy though.
Yeah, and I just wasn't with it. I was like, oh yeah, it's today, isn't it? Okay, so why not?
Yeah.
We'll pop and spend a fortune on a video game, get some snacks, and I end up staying awake till 4 a.m. playing bloody GTA. But 10 years, man, 10 years. But
great game. It definitely puts in perspective, like 10 years, and that game has been, because it came out on Xbox
360, man. No, it was
360.
Yeah.
360, and then the Xbox One, and then PC, all that kind of stuff. It's been ported onto several platforms already. Right? It's crazy.
Like we can talk about GTA 5. We can make a whole topic.
It just makes me. It just puts in perspective of how old I am right now, and I don't like it.
Don't think about it. My beard wasn't grey back then. It is now. But that's life. That's 10 years, man. It is crazy to think about it, really. And
it's true.
Like we've known each other for a very, very long time. We kind of that's kind of how we became friends, is over video games. But like we got Mortal Kombat coming out soon.
True.
And that'll be a blast from the past, because that's pretty much how we started our friendship. Me kicking your ass at Mortal Kombat, you losing. We can't talk about Mortal Kombat.
I think it's fair that we shouldn't really like start up our episode with lying. I don't think that's a good thing. We want to be one that is credible, objective, and above all else, honest. So tell the people how I proceeded to ass smack you up and down, left and right.
You say this, but I have the receipts, man. I have the receipts. I am proud of my victories. I record my victories. I create montages of my victories.
By the way, this is scripted. We had added this part to, as part of the script, this part, basically, where he says he wins, and I have to go along with it. So
it's
sorry,
funny.
Guys.
It's funny. It's funny because we both know that's a lie.
I know nothing.
So that's basically who we are. So we are the Black Cloud Collective.
Yes.
I think eventually the idea behind this podcast is to create a collective, just create people, who might be interested in talking about video games, talking about their journey. Because, like I mentioned, we are on another podcast. We are on Above the Fold. Femi has his own show going on. You're currently you do a number of shows. You do. What why don't you tell us about the kind of shows that you're doing with your Twitch?
I do 2 shows on Twitch. One called Excuse Me, which is basically talking about some of our unpopular opinions, but with a twist to it. So trying to figure out if the person saying those statements are being truthful or if they're just being lied. So it's really, really fun element to it. And then also the AAA game show, where it's basically, think of back in the 90s, really show my age now, where you had all those different game shows with different activities. I'm thinking like Nickelodeon. You remember those Nickelodeon particular game show where you had the contestants doing different activities on different rounds?
Oh, yeah.
So basically like that, it's each round has a different type of mini game, and then whoever has the most points through those mini games is the champion of the AAA game show. It's a lot of fun. Plus it gets it's kind of honestly, I've met some really cool people doing it, other streamers, other non-streamers, or content creators, whichever word you want to use. It's a lot of fun. We just have fun with it.
Yeah, and obviously like you mentioned, you've made some friends throughout your journey who have since become my friends. So that's pretty much what we are, really. I want to talk about video games. That's my passion. Your passion's kind of everywhere, isn't it? So let's talk about
like everything.
Yeah. So let's talk about what you want from this podcast, really. What do you plan on bringing to this podcast? We didn't script this.
Of course, the amazing beauty. Thank you. But no, we
just shaking my head silently.
No, like I think honestly, I like that we can just chat. Like,
yeah.
Everyone out there, I'm sure you've had moments where you're talking to your friends about what's happening within, currently in gaming, whether it's games that you're into, or updates that came out, whatever it is, you've had chats while playing the game you're playing, and it's a ranting back and forth, arguing, debating, or just giving experiences about whatever it is. That's pretty much that. It's pretty much me and Neon Demon just bringing you that perspective, that experience, and that's kind of like what I would bring as well, just my experience, my perspective, what I think. I'm always gonna let you guys know if I've played a game or not, and I'll let you guys know what I think about it. Truly, it might not always be the popular opinion, but it's gonna be my opinion. But I think that's fine, right? Because we all have different experiences to games. That's the beauty about games.
Yeah, exactly. I think for me, I really want to do a podcast, not only because I wanted to talk about video games, because I would watch all these podcasts and I was like, I don't agree with your opinion. And like, opinions.
I don't believe what you're saying.
They're not the be all and all, but like, it'd be nice to just get my voice out there. Like I said, I want to write about video games.
Amazing voice as well, very sensual. Love it.
Way to throw me off. That's great. You're great. You're a great co-host. Thank you so much. I like.
I'm being paid to say this, by the way, but go on.
Yeah. So yeah, that's basically us. So we'll form a structure to this podcast as we go on. We both have some amazing ideas, I feel. Yes, we're saying we because he's got a really good idea for the end of the show. We'll get to that point. So we'll start by what we're playing. Let's talk about what we're playing, because it's been a bit of a week in video games.
It has been a lot.
It has been we are recording this on the 12th of September. Right now, I've been playing Starfield for me. I've been playing so much Starfield that when I'm not playing it, I'm thinking about it.
Starfield, the very popular game, the VIP at the moment, the one that's got all the shine. How you find it? Like, I'm actually, because I haven't played myself, but I've been hearing lots about. We'll get into that, but just experience so far.
My experience, overall, it's a massively positive experience. It's kind of like this game has been in the works for such a long time, since Microsoft, they bought Bethesda, and I forget when. It was a few years ago now,
Been a while
and
now, yeah.
they bought Bethesda, and I think that purchase was needed by both companies. Like Xbox really needed some exclusives, and Bethesda really needed some money coming in. They needed that security, didn't they? But Starfield is obviously it's a Todd Howard game. This is the man behind Fallout 3, Fallout 4, heck, Skyrim, man. And these were my games growing up, man. This was like some of the biggest RPGs in the world. So it had a lot.
I've never played Skyrim, by the way, just FYI.
Really? You've not? Have you played any Bethesda games?
I mean, yeah, Fallout for sure.
Yeah.
But I never played Skyrim because I think at the time I wasn't really that much into that specific type of games. Or maybe not much into it, more like I wasn't exposed to it. Maybe that's the better word to put into it. And now that, of course, those games are well within what I would play, that's a time commitment right there. That's a lot of time to get into, and I just feel like it's a lot. It's very daunting. Like if I start now, it's kind of like One Piece, where you have 1,000 plus episodes. For anyone else that watching One Piece, you are in for a long ride. It's a great ride, but that initial start, it feels a bit daunting. So that's why I feel about Skyrim.
Yeah, and I don't blame you for feeling that way, because it is rather daunting, but it's also like there's no FOMO. You're not missing out. It's like if you play next month, next year, in 10 years, the game's still there. And for me, it's been a game that I've been waiting for a long time. It ticks all my boxes. Like, it's a Bethesda game. It's
Starfield, right?
Yeah, it's in space. It's exactly what I want from a video game. I've put in about 14 hours so far. The first couple of hours, but believe it or not, I was like, I'm not sure what this is. One thing that Bethesda's known for is the amount of bugs that they typically have in a video game. Yeah. It's a bit,
I think it's part of their charm. I think like you expect it to have bugs, and they have done a good job in marketing it in a way or preconditioning us to make us feel like it's charming. It's almost like, hey, what are my bugs?
Yeah, that was the expectation as well, that fans would fix these bugs with mods.
Yeah.
But I mean, this game was actually delayed by a year to address those bugs, because being under Xbox, there's that level of expectation that they've bought this studio, that shouldn't be happening anymore. But I mean, I'm like I said, I'm about 14, maybe 15 hours in, and I'll tell you what, I don't think I've even scratched the surface.
Yeah. So you mentioned something that I was interested in. Like, again, I haven't played this. I'm only going off of what I have read on interwebs. And you mentioned that it gives you so much so early on, whereas what I've been hearing is that it's a bit slower though.
Yeah.
Before you get to all the good stuff, it takes a couple of hours of gameplay. I mean, by a couple, I mean like really good amount of hours into gameplay. So do you feel that's not really the case, or that's not really experience?
No, it's definitely the case, and I'm one of those people that has been on record saying it shouldn't take 5 hours to wait till the game gets good.
That's just ridiculous.
But it is that game. It is that game, and
but why? Like, why do they make? This is what. And I'm sorry, I still want to cut you off. I have so many questions, because it's like you pay for a game, right? It's like going to a movie and waiting an hour before any kind of semblance of anything interesting happening, which is the reason why I refuse to watch Interstellar, because it is a long drawn. Yes, I do not care. Let me put it this way. I actually started watching it, but I refuse to acknowledge that I watched it because I was really annoyed by it. It's such a long, drawn-out film. Like, and I didn't finish it. I stopped because I was bored. But anyway, it's just like you pay for something. Why do you have to wait an hour or 30 minutes? It should be right into it. Like, already hook me
Yeah.
make me addicted to your game. Make me be like, I need this. I need you in my life. As opposed to this long-winded journey.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of my just as generally for games
And
anyway, not just for Starfield.
I wholeheartedly agree with you. But I think Bethesda in general are that one exception. And I'm not sure I believe this is how it should be done. But there is so much to this game. This game is 4 games in one. 4 games in one. It's a flying game. It's got so many different stories, and how you approach each story is different for everyone. Now, to give you a quick example, there's this side story for the Crimson Fleet. Now, to get to that, you got to be arrested. Now, everyone has a different story. Like, you could do these stories that you didn't even know were there because you would just. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you how I got to the Crimson Fleet. I was checking out this moon, and I saw this ship flying. It's like, I wonder, can I go there? So I went over there. It took me about 15 minutes to get there because, you're in space, you're jumping about. There's very, very little gravity. Got my jetpack. And I say, the landing bays are open. People are walking out. End up being bad guys. Killed bad guys. Went up the landing bay. As I got on, the ship went back into space. I was like, well, what the hell's going on here? And then obviously I killed the guy piloting the ship. I thought, oh, okay, I've got a ship. So, but before this, I knew that to get the ship, you had to kind of, you had to get like permission, give yourself like, it's like the pink slip really of getting vehicles. So I was like, oh, okay, so I'll take this to New Atlantis, I'll sell this. Little did I know that there was contraband in my cargo. I got scanned. I got pulled over. So it was like, you've got to pay to, to get through, and you get your stuff confiscated. I was like, for Christ's sake, okay, here we go. Did that. And I was like, well, that's what's going on now. Some bigwig was like, we're kind of going down a rabbit hole of working undercover and trying to infiltrate the Crimson Fleet, which is this massive pirate fleet. And everyone kind of that's a massive narrative in the story, and no matter where you go online, they're saying that's one of the best storylines in Starfield. It's like, well, I'm going to go down this rabbit hole. And listening to the amount of podcasts that I do, everyone has their own way of getting to these stories. And that's what this game is. It is, you could put 48 hours in and your experience will be different. And I think people over time have forgotten what a Bethesda game is. It's basically a condensed world. You can approach things however you want. Yeah. Like, I'm still seeing, I mean, like I said, I'm only like 14, maybe 15 hours in. And every time I play, I don't know what's happening. I don't know what will happen because anything can happen. Yeah. And that's kind of the world they've built. And, I have my issues with the game. No game's perfect. Right now, I feel like there's a hell of a lot of cutscenes. It's not as open as you would expect. It's like, going back to Skyrim, you create your character, you do that first mission, and then you exit the cave, or you'd enter the main area, wouldn't you? And you'd see this vast open. You'd see mountains. Everything you'd see, you'd be able to go there. Skyrim's a little bit different because it's broken up into a lot of loading screens. I can see a few people coming to this game and saying this is a loading screen simulator. And there's a lot there. But I think, I do see a lot of people griping on the game about that. And, I get it. But I think...
If it's a zebra, you call it a zebra.
Yeah.
Perhaps. Like I said, I haven't played this, but based on what you're telling me, if that's... I mean, all jokes apart, do you see there's a point to that particular train of thought that there's a lot of just disguised loading type situation where it's basically that?
I think, that's exactly it. It's definitely disguising it in a way. And it was a massive bummer for me to begin with because I was like, I'm seeing this loading screen again. I'm seeing another loading screen. But honestly, after so many hours, when you kind of get to grips with the mechanics, and there's a lot of mechanics, those things bug me less and less and less.
Right.
I'm at a point now where I've come across some amazing stories, and Bethesda, the way that Bethesda makes stories, the kind that you remember because you could just stumble across them. Like they have a phrase for it, but I don't know I can't remember what it's called. But you can jump onto a planet, you can overhear two people having conversations. That'll trigger a side quest. And somebody could absolutely just run past that, completely miss it, and they would never know about that side quest.
That side quest, yeah.
So
that's actually a pretty cool mechanic. I mean, that's actually pretty cool.
Do you remember back when Elden Ring came out? It was the zeitgeist online. Everyone was talking about it. There's videos, there's clips of of everything going on. Starfield is becoming that, and I knew it would become that because these Bethesda games, they have a tale. They like Skyrim, the amount of remakes that game has had, or re-releases, or whatever. I think they put out the other day that there's 6 million players in the Starfield universe. That's crazy numbers.
I saw those numbers. Yeah, that's a lot.
And I don't have the amount in front of me, but they've made so much fun of it. Because this game is on Game Pass. You can play this game on PC, you play it on mobile, via cloud or on PC. But all this money that they've made through like early access, which if you're a Game Pass, obviously you're paying your monthly sum. But if you want to play the game early, you can pay an extra £30.
Yeah.
So they had this many players before the game officially launched. Now, to me, that shows that the Bethesda people have really wanted this Bethesda game. They've been waiting a long time for it.
I mean, the way I look at it is that similar to how No Man's Sky was being marketed, and how much had for it going into launch. The only difference between that and this is that this is actually, I haven't played it, but based on just the popular sentiment, it's a solid, good game. Whatever issues you have with it overall, the opinion is a solid, good game. No Man's Sky was broken. It literally was not a good game at all. But if it had been that game upon launch, I think it would have been that. Maybe not close to this, because this offers a lot more than you meant. I don't know how much No Man's Sky has now, but at the time it wasn't what it is right now anyway.
Like I see that sentiment a lot online, and they are both space games, but they both approach it very differently. I'd say No Man's Sky is more of a survival. Like Bethesda, they bring stories. The amount of stories they bring into this, No Man's Sky doesn't really do that. No Man's Sky is doing something else. Bethesda, even though they have an element of generated content, I'd say it's on a different level. I mean, No Man's Sky is in a much better state now than it was when it launched. Much better. But I see them separate because they're not the same game. Starfield is a game that I can see myself playing for years and years and years.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people find that quite daunting to think of, because you're thinking, maybe it's like an MMO, but it's not. It's just these games, Skyrim especially, people are still playing it. The mod community around that game.
That right there, and I think that is what makes it, gives it that longevity. Is the mod community and what they do with those games specifically. So that's actually a good call. I'm actually curious to see what they end up doing with Starfield.
And I think that's kind of clouded my opinion of it, because I see what it can be, not what it is right now, and I'm very aware of that
potential. Yeah.
And I'm really, if we weren't doing this podcast, we'd be playing it right now, and I'll be probably playing it before I go to bed. It's a game I've been waiting for, and to say it hasn't lived up to my expectations would be a lie, because it kind of has. Because I've played a Bethesda game, I know what to expect, and it's doing all the same things they used to do. it's basically Fallout in space, and that's, to me, that's what I expected, and that's exactly what I got.
Okay. I wonder. I'm just guessing. I'm not guessing. I wonder whether your expectations were a little bit tempered because of. I mean, Redfall, for example. I know it's not the same game, but it released one of meant to be that next IP game for Xbox and all the studios it acquired. It released not great.
Yeah.
So I wonder, do you feel that maybe your expectations were a little bit more on the tempered side, just like, or were you actually like, no, I expect it to be a 10 out of 10, and that is what it delivered to me? Or were you more like, okay, I expect it to be at least a 6 out of 10, and now it's gone as a 7. So I'm actually.
Well, you say it's 7 out of 10. IGN and GameSpot gave it a 7 out of 10. I do not agree with that score one bit.
Yes, the 7 out of 10 score. It's funny because I know, I think there's been a lot of like memes about that, and it's funny because it's IGN, wasn't it IGN US that gave it 7 out of 10, and then the other IGN in different locations gave it like 9 or 10.
Japan, Brazil give it a 10 out of 10.
Yeah. But it's like the fate. There was a lot of like opinions and So you don't think it's a 7 out of 10, basically? You think it's way more than that?
No, I don't agree. So when it comes to reviews, I am of the opinion that people's opinions don't really matter at the end of the day.
That is true.
I
agree with that.
The only people's opinions I care about are certain people in the industry, and I care about these people's opinion. These people. I care about their opinions. One of these people, because We'll get there. So, for example, Ryan McCaffrey. He's been a long time reviews editor at IGN. I followed him, and I've come to value his opinion. He didn't review this game. Somebody else reviewed this game. I've never agreed with any of his reviews, not once. He gave Fallout 4 9.5 out of 10. No way, it's not Fallout 4 9.10. That is a solid 7. That was an okay game, but it wasn't a great game. And it's again like it's the people's whose opinions I care about have given it a high score. If I were to score it out of 10, I'd give it a 9.
Right.
So I went onto Metacritic yesterday, and I haven't told you this yet, but I meant to. And I was like, oh, you know what? They do user scores. I'll write a review, and I'll have a look, and I'll write my own review. So I created an account. People are review bombing this game. Like it's scary. I don't know if they've done anything about it, but I was on it. I was like, that can't be right. But so like I said, I created an account. I was like 9 out of 10, and they asked you, what do you want to say? Yeah. I spent about 25 minutes writing what I thought was an okay review for someone who's only played a few hours, and I hit submit. I got an error code. I was like, you're joking me. So I pressed back. I was like, you have to write it. Nah, it didn't save the text. I was just sat there like this, like I'm not.
Look, any kind of form I've grown to now save, especially if it's like that long text part of the form, I've grown to like just copy and save it somewhere because I know. Yes,
I was burned.
Experience is the best teacher.
Yeah, I was burned. I was like, and it was literally on a whim as well. It's not like I sat down and thought about it. I was like, well, that'll teach me a lesson. But again, I've got this platform to put these kind of things out, and by no means am I qualified. I've got no experience. But the point of me is doing this is to get that experience, because I'd love to review a game. But I don't really feel like I've got there's a structure to reviewing games, and I'm not quite there yet, but I wouldn't get there until I start doing it. So that was the point of me getting to Metacritic, and so far I've not experienced the entire game. Maybe 9 is too high. Maybe I should wait until I finish the game. But that was my thoughts and feelings in that moment.
Yeah, but I can honestly, like, when it comes to review, like, critic scores and whatnot, and for me, I take it with a pinch of salt because these are games that are meant to be based on your experience.
Yeah.
It's kind of like music, right? What I like, I love. If I send it to you, be like, oh, this is shit, But that's okay because it is very. Shut up. It's very. Don't even say anything. I want to hear it. It's very subjective, and that's okay,
Yeah.
right? Like, so that's why for me, I yes, it's good to get at least, someone that has a bit of understanding of how games are made, or like just sort of the technicalities of it, get their opinion. But I won't be like, okay, this person gave it a 5. I'm not touching that game. I would actually go on Twitch and watch someone play, so I can actually see how it plays, how they experience it, and then come to my own sort of, conclusion on it. So I'm always a bit, yeah.
And I think that's the best way to be. Like I spend a lot of time on Twitter. That's where all the people I follow kind of spend their time to put out these news, put out these conversations. And there's definitely a bubble in Twitter of people. They don't like Bethesda because it's Xbox. Xbox is the third place console, and it's getting to like, me. I've been IGN was like, for me, that was like my dream job. I'd love to work there. I'd love to, that's kind of my goal. And the past year or so, I'm starting to rethink that, because it seems to me like a lot of these big companies, GameSpot included, Kotaku especially, it's good to hate on Xbox because you get the clicks. And I've been seeing some really negative stuff from IGN, which I put out a little tweet actually saying, it's not tweet anymore, is it? Whatever it is. X. About how I think IGN's kind of going downhill, and I don't want to get into that whole thing, but I feel like they say things. I feel like there's some bias there, and I don't agree with. That they'll say all these awful things about Starfield, but then they'll go and they'll create all this content for it.
Of course, because that is what is trending. That is what's happening. That is the popular topic.
Yeah. It seems disjointed. It's disjointed for me. Yeah. And I have a problem seeing that. I don't agree with that level of thinking, but I get it as a business perspective.
It's a business, correct? That's
not everyone.
Right there.
Yeah, it's just it's hard to see. A company, IGN, a brand, whatever you've been following. I've been following them since 2004. And I've definitely seen a change in how they approach Xbox. It seems you can't see a headline about Xbox without them saying something negative about it, and it's really hard to see that, because Xbox, it is my chosen platform. Yes, I've got a PlayStation. Yeah, I've got a Switch. I've got a PC. I put my time into Xbox because I like their video games. They're very pro-consumer. They're the third place console. They are going to be pro-consumer. That's a whole topic in itself. I can talk all day about the differences between consoles, but at the end of the day, we're here for the video games, aren't we?
Correct.
And right now, Starfield is all I can think about. Now, come the 14th, when the early access Mortal Kombat comes out, I will be preparing myself, because I've paid the extra money. I'm getting a few days early access.
Yeah, super deluxe edition.
That's right. And I'll be playing that. I'll be practicing for when the game comes out. Because you know why I'm practicing, don't you, Femi?
To have a chance at being even close to winning a game off of your boy.
Close. Yeah.
You don't need the practice though. Some people just show up and just win. That's it.
It's with that smile. It's because I was in the open, not the closed beta for it, because I pre-ordered the game. It is a very different game, and I realise we're jumping between topics now, but we'll keep it going, because it is Mortal Kombat.
It's fine.
It is a very different game. So me and Femi, we really do enjoy these fighting games. They're probably one of the few fighting games that we do play. They've just released their launch trailer, haven't they? They're launching in a few days.
Yeah.
And I've never been in a position where I don't know what character I'm going to meet. Like, Smoke's always been my boy. Sub-Zero. I mean, you've kind of commandeered Sub-Zero.
Yeah.
You kind of did, because I used to be all about Scorpion back in the day, back in the MK9, MKX. Scorpion was your boy.
Scorpion.
Yeah,
I was
you'd
all
call
about
them. You'd call them the Twin Dragons, but
I call them the yes, exactly. Those were my boys, and then you proceeded to take Sub-Zero, and I was,
and then I ended up playing more Scorpion. So we've both been. So they've all like one of the two has always been our mains at some point.
Yeah.
But there's so many good characters now, Femi. There's so.
It's a lot.
Yeah, so there's Havoc. There's a lot of 3D era Mortal Kombat characters that are returning to this game. There's no new characters, which is interesting, which I didn't realise until I saw the roster today, which I'm not sure how I feel about. Because
just disclaimer, I haven't seen the full character reveal. I was actually going to see before we started this. Didn't get a chance to see it, but I already know sort of the characters that were already reviewed like weeks and months back anyway. Like the last one you mentioned, what did you mention again just before we started this?
So in there's Raiko, which
Raiko, exactly.
Raiko. He was in a previous trailer, but they didn't make it clear if he was playable or just part of the story or whatever.
Yeah, it was just feature. Yeah, it was like yeah.
So but there's like. It's got pretty much all the ninjas except for Noob Saibot returning. I don't know how this transitioned from a Starfield conversation to MK, but that's how our conversations go. We tend to just slide into one topic to the other.
This is how it is. This is literally how it is, and that's kind of what we're sort of just going to be doing. Most of it is obviously going to be on topic, and then we might transition to something else. We'll keep it flowing.
Yeah,
we do like MK, and anytime MK comes up, we have to chat about it.
Yeah. Because it's definitely like if we go back again in time, we go back to uni. I've never really been big into fighting games until Mortal Kombat 9, the reboots, and because of that competitiveness between me and you, you had a little cloth, didn't you, to swipe.
Yeah. So let me just I think for all of my oldies out there, I used to play Street Fighter on Super Nintendo with the controllers being hard as freaking bricks, the D-pad. Those things would give you blisters. So either you use Vaseline to like slide, to slide through the D-pad, or use a cloth. This is how we used to do it, and the cloth was my preferred option. So that has any game that required sort of inputting multiple to do a specific type of like special move, I would always use that to slide in the what you call it, the keys in. So yeah, the cloth was my best friend.
I remember I'd message you and play some MK. You'd come over, and get ready. It's like, oh shit, I haven't got my cloth. So you'd go back to your dorm room and go get it. But that's what I remember specifically. Now, because I've got the memory of a goldfish. I literally had to write my combos down.
The post. Okay, the amount of post your TV was literally littered with post-it notes, and you could barely see the TV at some point. It was literally just post-it notes everywhere. It's crazy.
It's because I would play lots of different characters, and I would spend time like creating combos for them in training, and I'd end up doing Sector's combo for Liu Kang. It's like it wasn't working, so I had to like separate them on my TV.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, because in the open beta for MK1. You can't pin combos to the screen like you could in MK11. And I was like, shit, I can't remember a thing. I've literally forgotten.
Back to poster notes.
And I'm like, I'm going to have to... I don't know if that was just an open beta thing or whether, it will be a feature in the full game.
Yeah.
But I hope it is, because I can't go back to post-it notes. TVs have gotten better, like the bezel has gotten thinner over the years. I got nowhere to put post-it notes on my screen. I'm going to be screwed, mate.
You can put it on the cats, it's fine.
Yeah, cat, come here, I want to play some Mortal Kombat. Yeah.
Put you right here.
But I don't think I've been this excited for a Mortal Kombat game. I mean, 11 kind of fell flat with
yeah,
both of us,
I didn't. Honestly, I think 11 for me, I didn't really put as much time as it did with like 9 and 10. I think it's... Yeah, 10.
9X. No. Yeah, 9X.
No, it was
11.
9. 9X, yeah, and there was XL, which added the combat, the DLC
The
characters.
DLC
Yeah,
and whatever. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I didn't put that much time into 11 because first of all, I didn't like the pacing of it. I felt it was a bit slower.
Yeah, definitely much
Um,
slower.
it just didn't feel
Yeah.
it didn't connect with me. So, but from your experience, right? You said that one is a lot more fast paced.
It is much faster, and I don't think I was prepared for it because
Mm,
I wouldn't say it was as fast as like Mortal Kombat 3, for example, because you
no,
can
yeah,
sprint in this game. Um, but one thing that took me off guard was that this game is leaning into air combos as well. I don't traditionally do air combos because I can't think that quick enough to put the combos in when I'm in the air. So I pretty much said like I need to play one character, get my head around it. So I stuck
yeah,
with Sub-Zero. Sub-Zero was probably one of the easiest characters to do. He had a whole combo in the air, and I'll tell you what, it felt good. It felt really good. I don't think there's no long string combos in any of the characters that I played, which I thought was
right,
strange. But with the cameo system, like we'll talk about the cameo system. These are the secondary characters who can assist you in battle, and traditionally they're not part of the main story. They're taken from the old universe because it's kind of Mortal Kombat 1's basically a soft reboot, isn't it?
yes,
I actually wrote about that on my website. So if you want to catch up on Mortal Kombat, as me self-promoting right here,
quick
you
plug.
can go to my website, and I literally wrote all about it, about how this story, because we're going from 11 to 1, aren't we? So I won't go into it here. You can go there. You probably already know about it, the amount of promotional media.
Is the website live? Is the website live now?
It's live. It's published.
Is it?
It's published. It's published.
Okay.
So there's some stuff I need to do to it first before it's officially live. But
Gotcha.
I've already made a start writing articles for it. We've got a community focus, and you're the community focus. I wrote a little bit about you, as you know.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So yeah. I mean, let's move on, shall we? Because I'm honestly sick of hearing my voice.
Just quick question
Go on.
before we actually go to next. When we're talking about Starfield, do you see it? I know it's early. I know you obviously just still have a bunch of hours to put into it. Do you see it as candidate for Game of the Year?
Yes. Yes, I do.
Now, do you think it's going to win Game of the Year?
No, fuck no. Absolutely not. And I'll tell you why. Because another game came out this year, Femi, you might know, called Baldur's Gate 3.
Oh, I think you're gonna say Palia.
Say what?
I think you're gonna say Palia.
What on earth is that?
You never heard of Palia?
Palia?
It's like this. I think it's Palia. Or is it Pala? I never remember how you say it. But it's a Stardew multiplayer game that is currently in order right now. Yeah, check it out. You might like it actually. I think you're very much into Stardew.
Yeah, well, yeah. I didn't know that. We should talk after. Okay.
Yeah.
And we also need to unpack Interstellar, because I need to talk to you about that. There's something going on there that I don't know what's going on, but we'll unpack that later. I'd love to unpack that with you. So yeah, let's transition, shall we? Shall we transition?
Wait, what game? Wait, hang on. What game did you say?
You wanna Baldur's Gate 3 will probably
Baldur's Gate
win.
3. Okay.
You want to know why, don't you? You want to know why I think that'll win.
Sure.
So when you think about like review scores, IGN's carries the most weight, doesn't it? Really, you think about it.
Yes.
They're the biggest, and none of the games they've ever reviewed has ever become Game of the Year. Now I don't know if you know this, but with the Game Awards, Jeff Keighley's Game Awards, he has a panel of people who vote for games, and then that they make up a percentage of the votes, and then the rest of the votes will go to the public. So when Jeff Keighley, he pulls a plug on that website, he'll say vote for this game. They make up a small percentage of what will get Game of the Year. Now, right now, gaming media is very anti-Xbox. A lot of them are, and you see that in the posts, in the headlines, and I don't expect them to be. How do I say this? I expect little to nothing from these people, to be honest. These outlets, IGN, GameSpot, they've made their feelings very clear. They don't agree with Microsoft. They don't agree with the ABK deal or whatever. And that's kind of how it is. Whereas Baldur's Gate, that got 10 out of 10 pretty much unanimously. But so I don't expect it to win. It's my personal game of the year.
But is that? I mean, I definitely understand where you're coming from in terms of just the news corporations within the space having that sentiment towards Xbox. But barring that, is it just because Baldur's Gate is just a more complete and better experience? I know it's two different games.
Yeah.
But based on just the experience, based on the actual enjoyment, based on the game itself, do you think Baldur's Gate is just a better game than Starfield?
It's hard really, because like you said, they are very different games. Yeah, they both excel in different areas.
Yeah.
Starfield is doing something a lot. They do a lot of different things compared to Baldur's Gate. It's a Dungeons and Dragons game through and through.
Indeed, yeah.
I adore that game. You can do almost anything in that game in terms of how you think about physics with a bear. But I love that game. We both have that game. I've put a few hours in. I'm towards the end of Act 1, and it is a fantastic game. And I would probably give it the same score as Starfield. I'd give it both a 9 out of 10. But in terms of
9 out of 10,
yeah,
10 out of 10 for BG3.
There's very few 10 out of 10 games for me.
What's a 10 out of 10 game example? So we have a benchmark.
The Witcher 3.
And another very popular on this podcast. I haven't played The Witcher.
I tell people the same thing every time they show any kind of interest in The Witcher 3. This is a commitment, man. You'll be spending.
It is.
And
that's the thing. Again, it's the same feeling I have with Skyrim. Same thing. It's like I don't think I can put in that time. It's not like I don't want to play. It's just that I know that I just wouldn't be able to do it. I mean, at some point. But you're saying that I know Witcher is highly acclaimed, great game. You're saying that it's nowhere in terms of BG3, like it doesn't stack up as highly as Witcher?
It's close. It is close. But I haven't finished Baldur's Gate 3. I can't. Okay. I'm not a professional reviewer by any means. I kind of go with my gut feeling.
This is based on your feeling. Okay. Yeah. You gotta based on your feeling. Based on enjoyment.
Look, Witcher came out 2016, 17. Mm-hmm. I've had time. I've completed that game. I've done all the DLC. I've had time to think about that game over time. Right, and I still think of it quite highly. Whereas I'm still in the early days of Baldur's Gate 3, and I love what it's doing. I know when I saw that Larian Studios were making Baldur's Gate 3, coming off Divinity, Original Sin 2, I was like, yeah, I'll pay for early access. I'll pay that when I'll put that down right away. And I've been playing it incrementally. I stopped playing for a while because I was tired of getting my save reset every time I did an update. And I think because of that, it feels like, I feel like this game's been out for a longer time than it's actually been out. So for me, and I've gotten a lot further than I did when it was in early access. And I am truly loving this game. This is a fantastic game. But it's not a 10 out of 10 for me yet, because I'm waiting for it to show me why it's 10 out of 10. And I've read a few reviews. I've watched a few impression videos and of people who have completed it, and like the people's opinions who I care about, they're giving it a 10 out of 10. So I'm just not there yet. I'm not.
You're still you haven't finished it yet. Is that why you're like, okay, let me actually go through it in its entirety, and then I will have more of a decisive conclusion to it.
Yeah, pretty much. But what I'm seeing so far, it's definitely Game of the Year worthy, because there's, again, like Starfield, there's so much to it. I don't know how anyone. I know, like Windows Central, they're still reviewing this game. It's a review in progress because it's so big.
Yep.
No, go on.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
I'm gonna put a little bit of a. I'm gonna put a bit of a chink into your logic there.
Right.
Has any game that has gotten Game of the Year been lower than a 10 out of 10? Riddle me that, sir.
What did Sekiro get? I don't think Sekiro was a 10 out of 10.
I think Sekiro got 10 out of 10.
Well, it depends what you think of as 10 out of 10, because what outlet
Who's
do
game
you
or
think
what
of?
like what outlet were you basing? Okay, fair enough. Yeah. Okay. I guess if we say, that's a good question. Okay. For all the games that did get 10 out of, all the games that did get Game of the Year awards, the ones that I'm guessing you played a majority of them. To you, were they 10 out of 10? Were some like 9.5, 9?
I'm trying to remember what was Game of the Year. Last of Us. I think was it Last of Us? So I don't know if it was the first one or second one. To be honest, that got Game of the Year.
I need to play that game. I actually need to play that game.
So I played that game. I loved that game. What I didn't like was the gameplay. It didn't feel good to play that game. The story, phenomenal. 10 out of 10, easy. TV show, fantastic. This is a cracking video game. But the moment gameplay was poor, if I'm honest. It didn't feel good to play. I'm probably upsetting a lot of people by saying this. But
no, I remember having this conversation on stream, and someone said the same thing about the gameplay being a bit not fun. Story, yes. So your sentiment is sort of what I remember was being said on that particular stream. So
I mean, should we look at what game it is?
By the way, guys, I know we're going from Starfield to MK to what is a 10 out of 10 to Game of the Year. Well, this is what it's all about, guys. This is literally what it's all about, So if I remember, okay, last game of the year, which was like last year, what was it? Was it not what was that?
Last year was Elden Ring.
Elden Ring was last year?
That was 2022.
Because I finished it this year. That's why I thought it was this year.
So, well, I don't know. It could well have been. Because you took a bit of a break between millennia, didn't you?
So I came back to her afterwards.
Yeah. The year before, so 2022, Elden Ring. 2021.
10 out of 10?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, 10 out of 10.
Okay.
It Takes Two, the year before, 2021.
That is a great. I need to finish that game, by the way. That's a great game. 10 out of 10?
I never finished it, so I don't know. Oh, I don't.
Really?
Yeah, so it was me and Jeff. Jeff bought the game. He had this friend pass, and we played it. And we loved it. Don't get me wrong. We loved it because it tells a very good story about two people and their child. And correction, it was The Last of Us Part 2 that came out. That was one of the Game of the Year in 2020. So I never played. Excuse me. I haven't played that because there's a lot of controversy around it, and I came off the first game thinking story's great. Wasn't really my jam. See, it's the same people who made Uncharted. Uncharted is one of my favourite series. That's why I bought a PlayStation.
Naughty Dog, they make great adventure games.
And I'm looking at, because the Game Awards on Twitter, on X, they put out a list of the Game of the Years. I'm thinking maybe you're right. Maybe all of these had a 10 out of 10 at some point. I mean, Starfield got 10 out of 10 from a lot of different outlets. So who's to say what 10 out of 10? So who's like some outlets have more weight than others. The IGN, the GameSpot, whatever. So
but I think that's to your point though. It's like which outlet do you weigh more for your okay, this outlet says 10 out of 10. Yeah. I weigh that more than X outlets.
I've moved away from not simping, that's the wrong word, but defaulting to a specific outlet. It used to be IGN. Okay. These days, it's not. Like I used to get all my news from IGN. Back in the day, it used to be joystick.com. That's how they're not around anymore. But that's how I got my news. That's what got me to gaming. That's what led me to IGN. But now I just follow the personalities on Twitter.
Yeah.
And that's where I get majority of my news now. I don't.
Yeah.
I very rarely go to IGN. You know, I still listen to their podcasts. I still listen to podcasts a lot. Game Scoop. They're part of my staples every week.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's a whole discussion to have really, you know, about Game of the Year and what we expect from it.
Okay, let me actually. I agree with what you said. Like when it comes to Game of the Year, there's a lot that goes into it. If you, because since that you gave The Witcher 10 out of 10, what is a 10 out of 10 for you? How do you?
What do I value?
What are your
in that
criteria?
Yeah. So for me,
criteria?
gameplay and story are very important. But one thing that I do think to consider is how the game launched. The Last of Us Part 2, that launched, and it was an incredibly buggy game. That I remember thinking at the time, when you launch a game that's damn near, I don't want to say broken because it wasn't broken, but when it launches in a sorry state, it should not be considered for Game of the Year.
Right.
You can say the same about The Witcher 3, because that launched in a similar condition, and
Right.
I don't. But Witcher 3 for me, when I came at it, I never experienced those bugs. So it wasn't a day one purchase for me. But you hear stuff. But for me, story is king. Story is what I look for in a video game. And then it's gameplay. And that's pretty much what I look at. Graphics, they don't mean a thing really to me. You know, I could look at a pretty game, and I'm very aware of how pretty it is, but it's not the be-all end-all in today's landscape. I mean, look at we both have a history in streaming Dark Souls games, from software games. They're not the best looking games, but my God, are they amazing?
They feel good. That's true.
Yeah, and you're playing a From Software game compared to any other game because of how tight. It's one of those things, because it looks, it's not the best. You'll never win any awards for graphics, but my God, it feels amazing to play. Sekiro, for example. But
I think Sekiro is probably the one that graphically you could probably say it's up there.
Yeah, I think with From Software specifically, we're going on a tangent here, but it's the detail that stands out, not the overall textures, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get it. Like, yeah.
And depending on what day of the week it is, you can ask me, Scott, what's your favourite video game? And it ebbs and it flows. I could, one day it will be The Witcher 3, one day it will be Knights of the Republic. That was a game that got me into RPGs and realizing, stories could be good in video games. And I think
I had a running bet in my head as to how long you're going to mention Koto.
Really?
And I knew I was thinking, what are you going to do on this episode? Or the guys, Mr. Neon Demon dies. He would swear and die on that game. He absolutely, which his passion for it has made me feel like I need to play this game at some point. Right? And I know they're doing a remake, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
So I will be definitely checking it out. Yeah, sorry. Go on.
No, I can't help it, man. It's one of the games that's changed the way I view games. So we all have that story of what got us into gaming. A lot of people, it's Halo. A lot of people, it's Street Fighter. It's the arcade. For me, it was Halo. But what got me into realizing that stories could be good in video games was Kotor. And I think that's why I value stories so much, because I've seen how it can affect me. And I love it when a good story can affect you. I love horror films for that same reason. I love a good story. I love that feeling you get. I absolutely adore it. So I find value in that. So when I look at people online, like the review behind Starfield, he might not have the same values. And it's like, how much weight... I mean, surely IGN knows when they give out a game a 7 out of 10, they know what they're doing. They know the effect that can have on the overall community, the industry.
That's true.
Like, and I learned this when a reviewer gave Alien Isolation a 4 out of 10. I think it was a 4 out of 10.
Which is incredible because that is such a good game. It's a
it really
really
is.
good game.
But it didn't resonate with him, and that's what. And this is the reviewer that I really like. He's Ryan McCaffrey from IGN, and that's when I realised that there's people who I do follow who care opinions I do care about, but they may not have the same taste. And I think that's what's hard to take is people's opinions, especially when you don't agree with them. It's hard to ignore, isn't it?
No, absolutely, and I think it's like that point or that example is really point for. There's not really like a standard way as to how people review games. There's not like specific industry criteria that we look at. Criteria A, criteria B, criteria C. How IGN does it internally on how they look at it might be very different to how GameSpot does it, completely, and to how all the different YouTubers do it as well. So that's the thing. Like, it's all really down to that person's experience going through the game. Of course, you want to have a objective view to certain things, but man, if you're enjoying the game so much, I mean, it's like it's gonna cloud you in a way, like, for sure.
Yeah, and I think that me not liking opinions, me seeing opinions I don't necessarily agree with, is kind of what's pushed me to do what I'm doing, is to write about it, to this podcast. Yeah, and there's you see a lot of hate for Starfield, and I understand the criticism, I really do, but it's definitely a game that its highs are really high, really high, and its lows, it's pretty low, I'll be honest, and the highs are just too good. They're so good that it's made the lows very easy to ignore. And I know that this game will be with us for a very long time. They've already said they're going to do a couple of expansions for it. The modding community's going to go nuts. I've already seen people trying to turn Starfield into Star Wars. I've seen Stormtrooper outfits. I've seen all sorts.
It's been very interesting though.
Yeah. So we have this personal Discord where me and a few friends we post all the stuff we might think our friends are interested in, and it's mostly just been dominated by Starfield. The amount of things people have created in the shipbuilder. We've seen the ship from I forgot the name of it, from Futurama. We've seen the Pelican from Halo. We're seeing all these wacky creations, and I think the sky's the limit for a game like Starfield. I think people will be unpacking that for a long time to come, if I'm honest.
By the way, fun fact or tip that I saw on TikTok: if you build your ship to not have anything, like build it in a way that it cannot be damaged in the center, you're never going to get hit by AI. Ever.
Oh, that's right. I saw. Yeah. It's like, does it have to be like an L shape or something?
It's an L shape. Yeah. It was. I was like, this is. You could see all the lasers like literally go into the center, and this guy was just cruising. I was like, it's crazy. Like that's that. I think for that, the fact that you can see all these different creations, and to me that speaks very highly of that game. And the ability to allow people just to create all types of things and exploit all types of mechanics as well. So yeah.
So
it's pretty cool.
One more thing before we move on. The original creator of God of War, he mentioned on Twitter that Starfield was the best game he's ever played. Now, if you spend any time on Twitter, you'll notice how PlayStation kind of own that platform. Needless to say, people were not happy with his take. And I don't know if you know this, but so his name's David Jaffe, and he's absolutely brilliant. He's very candid about what he says. Yeah. And he has this Discord, he has his channel. He's doing really well for himself. And he invites someone to the Discord to talk about it, and he was letting this dude talk about it. And Jaffe was then describing a mission in Death Stranding, And this guy was like, yeah. And David Jaffe caught him in this lie because this guy never actually, he was bashing Starfield, and he literally caught him on air bashing Starfield and he revealed that he never actually played his bloody video game.
Guys, don't be lying about your experience. That's why I always say, look, I've not played this, I've not played that, even if like it's a very popular game, because once you get caught, man, that's like, is this just in general anyway?
All credibility,
it's gone. Yeah. Like, just own up, like, hey, I haven't played this, but this is what I'm hearing, this is what I'm seeing on social media or whatever. What happened? Like, what did he just say?
I saw the clip. I didn't actually watch it live. I saw the clip. It made the rounds. I had a good chuckle. I moved on, and I keep seeing it being referred to.
That's hilarious.
The console wars are still going on, man. I know. It's a whole other thing. It's grown men arguing about plastic boxes, but
it's the same reason why I laugh about when someone sends me like an angry message. Let's say of a game of Overwatch or something like that, and let's say I performed bad or whatever, or he didn't get hit, whatever the case is, and they just send me like, oh, you should just go die or whatever, or get something. I'm like, you took 5 minutes or 10 minutes out of your time to yell about pixels. Like, you literally could have made a sandwich, you could have called your mom to tell her that you love, you could have done anything, but you chose to do that. Like, it makes no sense. But anyway, like I said,
it is what it is, and it's one thing that kind of, I see it every day, and I don't like seeing it every day because I was so excited for this game, man. This Starfield was my game of the generation, and then you see all this hate about it. Like, guys,
people are gonna hate. Like, that's the thing. Like, I think people are always gonna hate. People always find a reason to hate something.
Yeah.
Even if it's not objective, they will find like it's just a hate on it. Like, no matter what. And the people that have never played the game, they will hate on it. And I think those are the ones that are actually even more annoying, because you not even play the game. You should just shut the fuck up. Like, you should not even say anything. You know, like it's ridiculous. But yeah.
I saw a post, another clip. Again, Starfield's created all this controversy, and it's almost funny. I don't know if you know who Alana Pierce is. She used to work for IGN. She now works for
she's super cool.
God of War. I can't remember the name of the studio. Whatever.
She streams as well. I think.
Yeah.
She still streams. Yeah.
So she streamed it, and so she's in the headlines. Because people were calling her to get fired for playing an Xbox game. And so was Cory Barlog, the creator of the new God of War, and that's been making the news, as in all these big outlets, and it's cringeworthy, isn't it? It's cringeworthy that people can't play what they want to play or talk about what they want to talk about because people's got to have an opinion.
You know what? It's like, if you don't like it, just don't watch it. Sleep.
But let's move on. Let's not talk about console wars anymore because it makes me sad.
We can talk about that. That's probably going to be like another segment, another episode. You know, we can get into that another time for sure.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? But we do have another topic before we move on. You want to talk about Diablo 4?
Mate, Diablo 4. What the F has happened? Diablo, man. Diablo was meant to be the cornerstone of everything good in games. From Diablo, I mean, I only played Diablo 3, and I know people rant about Diablo 2 being fantastic as well. How about it's really acclaimed? I enjoyed Diablo 3. Diablo 3 was, we spent playing it.
Yeah, right. And
let me just, because I have a website open now, and it's more on the viewership. When it launched, peak season, when it actually launched, Diablo, it had about, let me see, it had, hang on, let me find it here. It had, on July 20th? Yeah, it's peak, it's peak viewership, when it launched was 278K. And then that has dropped as of September 9th to Oh, actually, 270k was when the season of Malignant launched, which was on July 20th. And then it dropped to 2,783 on September 9th, which is based on this a 99% decrease in viewership. And I think Asmongold was actually making a post about it, well, TikTok about it. Someone said that, by the way, Diablo 4 has currently 700 viewers right now, and he checked at that point in time, and it only had 700 viewers. A game of this stature, of this,
Yeah.
cult following, of this popularity, had the same amount of, had less than freaking, what you call it? Had less. It's ridiculous, and we've played it, right? And I enjoyed it up until hitting level, I think end game level like 60 or 70, I can't remember now. And I was only logging in specifically for the world tier bosses. That was it. There was a timer for a website that had a time when you can log in at that time, and you go to the specific place, or it just tells you what boss is going to spawn at this time. And that was the only reason why I was logging on to Diablo 4 at that point. And then once that got even tiring, and then Season of Malignant came out, I didn't even like. I was like, this is not fun. this is not fun at all.
As you said, we've both been playing Diablo. Like for me as well, Diablo 3 was my first Diablo game, and I think I can pretty much figure out why I stopped playing it, why you stopped playing it. We finished the campaign, and it was like, because this game,
Great campaign, by the way.
absolutely fantastic. Some of the best like cutscenes of any game I've ever seen. It's incredible.
Great.
But it had. This is a game as a service. This is a game they've been saying from day one. This will be a game that people have been playing for years, where we keep adding content. So in their way of adding content is through seasons. Traditionally, I don't know how far back they've been going, but Diablo 3, they had seasons. Their approach to seasons is basically you create a new character and you experience the world again. You can do the campaign, or you can do the adventure mode where you just do bounties and whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that took a lot of people by storm in terms of how they think about what an end game should be, because people have put all these hours into their main character, and now they're saying we can't do it for this new content. Got to create a new character, and
Just to go through
and you fell off Diablo 2 Diablo 3 because you didn't want to keep creating characters, whereas I kept doing it. I kept going through the motion because I love the moment gameplay, and it feels fantastic.
But the thing is that for one of the seasons, they actually released new characters. I believe they released like the Necromancer for Diablo 3,
Yeah,
and the Witch Doctor. So I understood. Okay, you want to try this new character?
Crusader.
Was it Crusader for one of the seasons?
It was Crusader for the Reaper of Souls, and the Necromancer came in its own DLC.
Yeah. So that was fine. I understood that at least to a point, but still the issue was within the format of the logic itself. Because like you said, why am I gonna have to do everything when I've already spent X amount of hours building this beautiful, fantastic, gorgeous, badass hunter? You want me to not just forgo my relationship that I had with her, with the battles we've been together, the nights we okay, no, the nights we spent. But it's like, why? It's like, then why do I forgo all of that to now start all over again? For what? And the content, and even then the content itself, So sorry, I know I could have cut you up there, but
no, I mean. It was just one thing after another. People realised this. I knew this coming in. I kind of expected it when they mentioned seasons, but I was okay with it because they also said that they bring new missions, a new story.
Yep.
There's a whole battle pass, and I was, and then new mechanics, like the malignance you get that gives you extra powers and stuff.
Yeah.
But there wasn't enough there. The end game, it fell flat for me. And I think what was the nail in the coffin for a lot of people is that they put out this update and they nerfed every single build to the ground, which they ended up, rolling back on. And they even went on, and I do admire them for this. I will give them this. They went on to a stream, they put their hands up and they said, "We're sorry for doing this. We'll never put an update out like this again," because it was that bad. And I think people have had their time with it and they've moved on. I think that's what the sharp drop is really.
And mind you, Baldur's Gate came out, which literally I think majority of people that were playing that game, I know it's our RPG to D&D, but there are some little sort of parallels
tone,
there. Not the tone, little parallels there. And even a lot of people that have never played D&D style BG game, they've actually gravitated to it because of how interesting it is and just the mechanics and everything. So I think the introduction of that and other games is what have come out just to like, why am I with my family?
Yeah. So I'll pose a question to you then, because we both love love Diablo. What would you do if you were in charge now? If you were Blizzard, what would you do right now to that game to bring that viewership up? To your point.
Honestly, I think they just need to look at what it means to have endgame. Look at all the RPG games that are out there. Look at World of Warcraft, for example. What that looks like. All of the different content that you can bring in, whether it's dungeon, even the dungeons itself. Like you can have more raids, even the bosses. Like it's. I remember going for a world tier boss, and again, I know people have said that there are people that are probably cheating. We got to that world tier boss before the boss could say, "Hey, I am this person." Before that bar could finish to show his health, he had died, just got slapped to death.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't even know who I killed. I didn't even say his name, So it just, there needs to be more of a challenge. I'm not saying make the bosses, spongy. We don't want that. But mechanics around it, make it more interesting, make it more engaging. The dungeons, make it more interesting, make it more engaging. The seasons, whatever it is you want to bring, how can you ensure that people can still use the characters to progress through the seasons? How do you make sure that they can, not reach a plateau? Because that's the thing, right? Yes, we understand that. Yes, you get to a ceiling, but you go above that ceiling using what you call it. What's the system again called again? Paragons, right?
Oh yeah, Paragons. Yeah.
Paragons. Yeah. You expand on that. So, how do you create this new seasons that fit within that Paragon sort of up? And that's another reason why I'm very curious about Path of Exile. Because I know it's super intricate, it's very complex.
Yes.
A lot of skills, a lot of trees, but you can play that game for a long time based on how much you can, tweak your character. And also from what I'm seeing and what I've heard, the content itself, I just feel like they need to do more with the end game. They need to fix that end game. They need to bring more they need to bring more interesting gear. Things that actually lends to more play styles, more interesting dungeon mechanics, more interesting bosses, raids, because you've been doing this as, hey, we're all coming together as this adventurers, let's tackle this. How do you capitalize on that? And the shop as well. Okay. You know what? Let's not even get into that. Let's not even get into the shop aspect, because that's going to really upset me. Yeah. So it's opportunities. I think there's a lot in there that they have. I really enjoy my character. I enjoy progressing through that campaign. I enjoy playing it. But now that I've gotten to this point, there's not much of an incentive to keep playing it. It's all the same. It's basically watching paint dry. And no one wants to do that. I don't want to paint. Paint is boring. Or if you're painting just a normal wall, it's boring. So there's a lot of opportunities that they just need to figure it out. What about you then?
I think if it was me in charge of Blizzard right now, I'd be saying, keep the seasons, because they are there because it's always been there. It's always been a part of Diablo's history, but it's not what people want from a game as a service per se. I would want to use because it's separated into seasons, and you got your internal realm for your character and story. Let us progress. Let us experience these new stories through the eternal realm. But I agree with everything said about post game. We need a proper end game. And when I think of end game, I think of Destiny. We both have a history of Destiny. It's a game that's kind of changed the way they've evolved over time, haven't they? They've introduced, they've had raids, they've got dungeons. Why not have something similar? Something that, it's this proper end game content. The reason why you are grinding for this gear, you're leveling up your Paragon points. In Diablo 4 right now, there's no reason to level up, because these world bosses, like you said, they're just getting smashed really easily. And I create a new seasonal character. I create another necromancer because I'm not really feeling any others. And well, how can I make this fresh? So I tried another build, and it's not a build that I'm particularly interested in. It's a pretty OP build, I'll give you that, but I'm not having fun using this build.
There you go. It's like, are you having fun? That's the thing. Like, yes, you can create a new character, you can try something else, but you want to see what's out there. By the end of the day, if you're not having fun, even if you're badass, but you're not having fun doing it, you want to go back to your existing character, you can't even do that. So I 100% agree with you.
So if they added like a dungeon and other ways to interact with the world, like we had a brief stint playing The Lost Ark, and the way that game transitioned into story moments is pretty impressive. Like you could be at one point we was in a carriage, weren't we? And then it went off the side of the wall, and you don't really get any those kind of story moments at all. It's just go here, kill these things, and it's separated with cutscenes.
Yes,
and it's fine. But I want more from that universe. Now I have every confidence that they will provide us. They'll give us these amazing moments, but they need to give us some kind of dungeons that we can work as a team to achieve different objectives. And I just don't think there's enough variety in gameplay for it right now. But it's a game. No, go on. Go on. I was just going to say that it's a game that will remain on my hard drive, because I love that game. I love playing that game. And they have said they're going to commit with yearly expansions and seasons. And not quite what we want right now, but they've said that they're open to feedback. So whether they'll make any changes based on that feedback, I don't know. I hope so, because it's more of a casual game now, because of the amount of people that's been exposed to it. Whether they'll come back, I don't know. But the hardcore, they're loving seasons. They love. That's what they want. But I don't think it's what we want.
No, I again, there is a lot of gold. It's just being covered with a lot of people at the moment. We just need to figure out how to light up that and let it shine. So I am hopeful to see it. They are gonna bring out a season 2. Season 2 is coming out.
Is it
Season of Blood?
That's it.
That's what it's called. October 17th, 2023. So this year, October 17th, and it's meant to bring a lot of changes to it. I don't have all the details to it. I don't have anything I can speak about right now, but I only know that that's the season that should hopefully bring a lot of much needed changes to it. Anyway, I'm going to go into it. I will experience it. Talk about it next time once it's out.
One more question for you about Diablo. They've said all these changes have come in. Can you see yourself returning to that game?
No, absolutely. Like I said, the game fundamentally, yes, there's some things that I know people have mentioned, like certain stats not really playing, not really being not being sort of visible or really making much of a difference. Certain sort of things, but the actual mechanics, like the fun I had, is there. I do think they can expand that a bit more. So I will give it a try. I would definitely give it a try.
The reason why I ask is because Destiny was in Destiny. I'll go back to Destiny as an example, because that's a game that's been through. It's been it's had its highs and its lows, and they've come out with these updates, and to me they've been substantial. To you, they've not been enough to bring you back. And I've seen a trend with my friend group of like, Destiny 2 isn't the same game as it was back then, but they have been tweaking it, and a lot of people won't come back to it because of what their experience was. It was a very grindy game back then, and it's not anymore. And I was thinking, is it the same for you in terms of Diablo? Can they tweak all these tweaks? They're mind that under the hood tweaks in terms of buffs and nerfs to your game, or whether these builds, these builds were nerfed into the ground. And there's literally classes which are no point in using because they were that bad. So just to cap things off, really, I'm hoping this Season of the Blood will transform the game to give us more to do in terms of endgame. I don't want to continually go through the story each time, and I used to do that in Diablo 3. I would be happy going through the campaign. But I've not got the time to do that these days. I mean,
campaign is actually
as good as it is.
I don't. I wouldn't want to go through that again. No, I honestly agree with that. They do have to think of a smarter way of progressing through with the new contents without having to, like you said, in Diablo 3 was either you jump right into adventure mode or you go through the campaign. But I think with the new characters that they introduced, you had to go through the campaign, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yes, unless you were creating a seasonal character, you can just skip the campaign.
Okay. So no, I agree with that. I do. Yeah, I will go back because I do think there is a lot of potential there. With Destiny, my sort of feeling towards was that my experience with Destiny 1, what it offered me, what it gave me, what the mechanics are, is completely different to Destiny 2. And that's why I didn't have the same connection that I had with Destiny 2 as I had with Destiny 1. For someone else, they like where Destiny 2 is going, where it's sort of progressing. That is fine. But if I look at those two games, I mean, Destiny 2 and Destiny 1, so I think you're a better judge of it than I am. I can only speak more for Destiny 1. But those are two different games. A lot of systems, a lot of mechanics. That's two different games. Even the PvP is completely different. The meta, all those things is that's fine. But the mechanics itself, the actual what makes the game what it is between Destiny 1 and Destiny 2 is two different games. And I just related more to D1 than I did with D2.
So you will notice that we will probably talk about Destiny a lot.
At some point.
It's definitely a game that I'll be talking about a lot. And I won't go into too much detail as to why, but it's definitely a game that I've been with for almost 10 years. And I do compare a lot of games to it. So, and as a game as a service, I think it does set the standard for games as a service. And I think Diablo's got a lot to prove.
Yes, sir.
But I think we're both willing to stick around to see what they do with that franchise, because it's a franchise that's got a lot of potential. And I think, again, just to cap things off with that, I think it's a game that's going to be with us for a long time. And I'll be buying that expansion day one. I'll be checking out Season of the Blood for sure. I'm tempted to jump back in at some point this weekend and just maybe finish off the season pass a little bit, because their items are pretty sick, man. Don't know if you've seen them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we'll leave the topics there. So we are experimenting in what we're going to do to fill in, to separate it, to create a structure for this podcast, as it were. So I've been inspired.
We're making this shit up. By the way.
Yeah, but we're planning on making this shit up. Is that how it works? That's not how it works. But I'll tell you. So we both come up with. Femi's challenged me how to make this podcast unique, and first thought was add a recurring subject that is this week in gaming. So basically we discuss games that came out this week throughout the years. And now this will be something for us to talk about, because we're getting on a bit, Femi. We're in our 30s, late 30s.
No. Why you snitched on me like I'm just 21?
Well, I'm talking about me. I mean, mostly me. So, and that's something that can be different each episode.
Yeah.
So I think I'll start with this one, if that's okay.
Go for it.
So this year in gaming, 7 years ago today, Persona 5 was released. Now, you don't have any experience with the Persona series. Now, I jumped on Persona 4 Golden when that came out on PSP, so I was very much looking forward to this game. No, this game, with this release date, came out in Japan, and it came out in April the following year in the rest of the world. But this game, mate, was my white whale. It was a game that it never left my console. It's a game I was like, I'm going to complete this game. This game, it took me 300 hours plus to beat this game, and that's just on the Xbox version. I pre-ordered this game for the PlayStation. I bought the PlayStation 4 when this game came out. I got to a point. I got about 140 hours in. I thought I need a break, and then I forgot about it. And then they released the Persona 5 Royal Edition, which is other content that's mixed in with the single player. So you have to start again. You have to start again. There's no other ways about it.
Literally have to. Yeah.
And I got to another 140 hours into the Royal version. And I was like, I need a break. I need just a palate cleanser, anything.
Yeah.
And then I saw that this game's coming to Game Pass. I was like, okay, here we go. This will be my game to finish. Mate, it took me 2 years to beat that game. Almost 2 years to beat the game. And no, it's not. But there was years in between. There's months in between of me playing other games, and I finally beat it, and it was incredible. During this time, they released an anime. I literally watched all that and loved it, and I beat it. And I've never felt, there's only 2 games in my life that I've relieved. I enjoyed, but relieved, and that was Persona 5 and Assassin's Creed Valhalla. They just outstayed their welcome, but I was like, I like what they're doing. I'm going to see this through.
Yeah.
I have never been so quick to uninstall a video game after I beat it. I was like, I remember where I was. I was like, I loved it, but I'm so glad that's over. And that's what I call my white whale. And it was a massive game, and I loved it. But by God, am I glad it's over.
It's a big game, very big game.
Yeah. Pause.
Oh, yeah. Because I'm being mindful of time.
120.
How much detail do you want to go into the segment?
No, just a quick anecdote, mate. Nothing too long.
Okay. Because I could have asked a bunch of questions about it, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can if you want. You don't have to.
Okay. No, because I'm being mindful. I think the first segment about the game, which was fine. I think I think it's good that we have that initial chat about the main topics. But this segment, I think we need to be a bit more
snippy.
Yeah. Snippy, yeah.
For sure.
Okay. Continue.
Start at 121. I'm making notes when to start, so I can cut it out. 21 starts. And now.
I know like Persona has a massive following. I don't know why I've never I don't know why I've never watched the anime, first of all, because I know it's meant to be pretty good.
Yeah.
But just what exactly? I'm gonna be ignorant. What exactly is it about? Because I know I can see the letters. I know the way it looks.
Yeah.
It's very iconic, but I don't even know. Is because I see it's like detective and stuff like that. They all have different powers.
It sounds. I'm going to describe it, and it's going to sound so stupid, and you'll wonder why it's so popular. So in anime, you got slice of life.
Yeah.
It's high school kids, they're living their life, and then something supernatural happens, and they're pulled into. So the game is structured in days. You can do so many activities a day, then you've got to move to the next day, and you go to school, you finish school, and you do all these things, and it's how you plan your time. It's over a year period. And you've basically got to structure your days, who you spend time with, build relationships, and that's just the social part of it. Then there's the action part. It's a turn-based game, and that's basically the structure of it. And it's incredibly addictive, but it incorporates a lot of different elements. There's puzzles, there's plot lines. It's a commitment.
I'm out.
But yeah, it is. But like, watch the anime. Watch Persona 4. Okay. Watch Persona 4 Golden. Separate anime. Watch Persona 5. These are solid anime. But it's a solid game, and Persona 3 is getting remade, and it's come to Game Pass next year. Okay. So we'll be talking about that for sure.
Okay. For me, in terms of a game that's having its birthday today, it's Heavenly Sword on PS3, and that game came out in 2007, which is 16 years ago.
I was 17. I was 17 when that game came out.
I think I was a little bit older.
A little bit. Just a little bit.
Just a smidge. So that game for me was like one of the first couple of adventure games I played on the PS3, and it was actually one of the first female protagonists that they introduced within like adventure games. Because you always had like either it's Kratos, you had Prince of Persia, it was like a male character, right? And mechanically, it was a great game. Visually, at that time, I was like, this is the most amazing, beautiful, cinematic experience type of game that I've had to watch or witness. And I had a lot of fun in it. And I think that actually led me to play a lot more of single-player adventure games, sort of really heavily based on story, really sort of getting into, immersing myself into different character arcs, different personalities in games. So I would say Heavenly Sword is one of those games that really sort of triggered that part of my gaming experience, and I would love it to remake. I think the game itself, what it did, absolutely could do it right now. Even the mechanics of the sword and how it had different, different stance, as they say, and bringing that now, it would actually work. So yeah, for me, Heavenly Sword 3 on PS3, happy birthday, and thank you for opening my world into the world of adventure.
So I never played that game, but I was aware of it because I think it was a launch game for the PS3, if I'm not mistaken.
It was,
and I remember the demo, and I remember thinking, because you were fighting on something that was falling. I've never seen anything like that before, and she had the bright red hair, and until I just looked it up, I didn't know that it was Ninja Theory who made this game. Now,
it was.
Ninja Theory are also making Hellblade. They also made Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice, which you streamed.
Exactly, and I think it's not directly linked, but there are certain influences from the Heavenly Sword, from the female protagonist as well, to protagonists in Hellblade. Of course, they're different. They both do different things. The topic is very, very different. Yeah. But there are certain similarities or influences that was taken from the character from Heavenly Sword as well.
I don't think I realised the caliber really of Ninja Theory. 2007, Heavenly Sword. Never played it. I've heard very good things about it. 3 years after that, I know we're going on another tangent, but Enslaved: Odyssey to the West. That was a third-person action game. Incredible. fast forward 3 years, we got DMC, Devil May Cry, the reimagining of the Devil May Cry game. Phenomenal. They also had a stint with Disney Infinity. And, you know, I think it wasn't until Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice that they started to become... I mean, I'm pretty sure they won Game of the Year, if I'm not mistaken, for that game in the year it came out, because that was a PlayStation exclusive.
Hellblade?
Yeah, the first one.
Did it?
Was, yeah, I'm almost certain. Check my receipts, but I'm almost certain.
No, but it's, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised because that game is, if you haven't played it, guys, if you haven't played Hellblade, the topic is quite heavy because it talks about mental illness, especially specific mental illness. But the gameplay, how it sort of allows you to experience that in a way that isn't too dark, but of course there's some dark tones in it. It's fantastic, absolutely fantastic. Yeah.
Okay. Right, we'll just pause it here real quick.
Okay.
That's 1 minute, 1 hour 28.
Okay.
This next subject, do you want to go to town with it?
Let's give it 20 to 25 minutes.
Yeah.
I'll say that. It's a lot of editing we'll have to do now.
No, it's fine. It's what I need to get used to the software, and it's just clipping and putting it together. So, and I've been messing around with transitions to get my head around it as well. So,
okay, yeah,
okay. 38, and
pull up the
29. The number.
Yeah.
The structure's looking quite nice in terms of when we speak. I love the visualization of the waveform. That's a really nice touch. But okay, and we're starting now. Okay.
So, those were the birthdays. So happy birthdays to the games. Thank you for giving us a lot of great memories. Looking forward to celebrating more birthdays. So I have a bit of a interest in, I guess, part of this podcast. You know, I call it, or I guess we call it Order 66. You're more into Star Wars, so you can probably tell the people what Order 66 is, and I can get into a little bit more how this particular segment will work.
So I'm not familiar with the structure of this segment, really, but you're going to explain that. Order 66 is when Emperor Palpatine kind of initiated the, oh my god, clones, go kill all the Jedi. So it's betrayal. So do tell us...
Big betrayal.
Big betrayal. Go tell us what you've got planned for this segment, because you kind of gave me an idea, and I'm like, this could be fun.
Yeah. So basically, it's the same idea. Order 66 has been given to wipe out one of two games, and we will state our case. We'll actually talk about those two games. We're not really like debating each other. We're more like debating what game we would like to save and keep in the history or the Hall of Fame of games, and one will have to be deleted, unfortunately. Never to be spoken of, never to be heard from, never to be played. So we have for today now. Scott, you don't know what games. You don't know what the two games are, right? You don't know. You have no idea. He doesn't know anything. The two games up. This one is going to be a bit interesting because you have very strong ties to both of them.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Order 66 has been given. One game needs to be deleted, and the two games are Gears of War franchise or the God of War franchise.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Woo!
So how do you want me to go about this? They both play a part.
Look at me, Marcos. What was your initial reaction when you heard those two games?
I was when you start with Gears of War.
You're like easy. Oh, easy Gears of War.
Yeah, easy. Because Gears of War and Halo is what's kept me on that platform for this many years. But God of War has also had some of the best, especially like not the remake, but the releases. Because it was you who got me into God of War. Sorry, Gears of War, God of War. Because I think it wasn't until 3 came out that I played it. But God Almighty, that's a tough one. So how do you want to play this then? So,
we can have a little chat about each one.
Yeah.
We start with Gears of War.
Gears of War. Oh my God. So yeah, I mean, I've been with Gears of War since the very beginning. Like, we both have a history of Gears of War. Before I even met you, I had. Oh, actually, before I met you, I was still living in the dorms. We went to uni together.
Yeah.
I had Gears of War 3 just came out. I had people over. I had Adam. I had my mate James. I had my brother.
Okay.
They all came to the dorms to play. We all played Gears of War 3. It was a lot of sweaty men. It was during summer. In this small dorm. I don't know where you were at the time, but we were playing Gears of War 3 relentlessly because we all played Gears of War 1 when that came out. We all played Gears of War 2 when that came out. Yeah. And it's, it gets this notion that it's a bro shooter, but it's more than just a bro shooter. Anyone who's played the story knows there's depth.
Fantastic.
It's a game that it's stupidly gory, but it's also a game that'll make you cry a little bit. And anyone who's played Gears of War 2 will know exactly what I'm on about. But then there's God of War.
It is. But before we get to God of War, the characters.
Okay.
Marcus. Start off with the main character.
Marcus Phoenix.
That's the main character.
Okay.
I mean, he's iconic.
You think of Gears of War, you think of Marcus Phoenix, don't you?
Straight away. It's like hand in hand. You see that, you're like, okay, Marcus is my boy. If I'm ever going to be in like world apocalyptic type situation and I need a squad, I need a team, I'm gonna holler my boy Marcus. Like, yo, bring the chainsaw, 100%. So yes.
I just can't get past the idea that I have to pick one and the other one doesn't exist anymore.
It dies off, deleted,
and
gone. And then you have God of War.
I just can't get past it because they both had a place, not at the same time, but at separate times in my life.
But they're both in the Hall of Fame of games.
Okay.
Now you got God of War. Now you have Kratos. And I mean Kratos. You will not see the end of this day. I'm
just trying to think, like,
I mean, if you think about like just the story,
they both had phenomenal stories.
Phenomenal story.
Very
story.
different gameplay.
Yes, different gameplay, but equally gory as fuck. I mean, I've never seen Titans like gods
of
Olympus.
Of that game.
Yeah, getting actually domed and wrecked. I was like, you're doing this too.
Like, me and my friends, we would, like, once we were done with the campaign co-op on Gears of War, we'd be jumping into multiplayer. So I've got that experience with my friends as well. Whereas God of War has always been a solo game. I've never really gone in depth with the story with anyone with God of War because you're the only other person I know who played the original games. And there was a moment in no, it's not really a reboot, is it? Because it's continuation.
I mean the God of the recent one, before Ragnarok.
Yeah. So there was a moment in that which kind of brought back his history in Greece.
I remember that. Dude, I'm getting goosebumps, man. I remember that. I remember that.
And I think of that moment, like, God Almighty, that was a
I
powerful.
remember
There was
that.
two moments. There was that bit that you're thinking about, and there was the
Okay.
part why he had to go back home, of what he had to
Okay.
collect from home. And
Oh,
I'm being vague on purpose because I don't want
okay.
any. I don't want
Spoilers,
because
yeah,
people
for
need
sure.
to experience that,
Yes,
and
yes.
they both hold a special place in my heart, Femi.
I would say
It's not an
I
easy
would
game,
say
man.
it's not. That's why it's called Order 66. You know, when you give that order, lives are gone. People are gonna be sad.
Erased.
We're doing that right now. Yeah, I would say for me, like going back to Gears of War. I mean, in some circles they call me GK. What that means is
Ah,
Commander
God
King.
Almighty.
You know, I was literally, you couldn't see me one-on-one with the Nasha. It was straight death. I was pretty beastly, just say, you know. So, but like just the multiplayer, the amount of fun that we had playing multiplayer. I mean, just that in itself, besides the campaign, even just taking that, like so much fun, so much experiences, so much laughter. Um, and that's to be said for that as well. And even the horde mode, they introduced that horde mode as well.
Yeah.
You know, like I know at some point I got tired of doing, but like when it first came out, I was doing. I think Gears of War actually made me hate horde type modes because of how much I played horde in it.
They
But
were
they
like
introduced
they introduced horde mode.
they introduced it. Yeah, they introduced. They were like the pioneers of that. I mean,
Yeah.
there are probably other games that have done it. Maybe we just can't remember that. But for me, they brought that particular type of mode into the forefront in my mind. Anyway.
I think
So, yeah.
I think I'll choose Gears of War. And
You're not gonna
It's-
have Kratos MK.
I completely forgot he was in MK. MK9.
You're not gonna have an MK. He's not gonna be there. He's not gonna be there. You're not gonna have.
I think the reason why I'm choosing Gears of War, is because of the history I have with my friends playing that game, playing that campaign game. Gears of War 3 was a highlight for me when the sword off shotty. People hated that gun. They despised it because it was the only gun that could compete with the Nasher, and I became the sword off shotty king.
You became a sort of.
I was the new king. And people hated it because they're like, "Oh, you can't beat me with the Nasher." And I was like, "Well, I beat you with the sword off, so I don't have
It was
to."
literally one. It was. I mean, honestly, just thinking back, you really had to be very because it's one shot. It means that shot you're open. Like there's no. You can switch.
Yeah.
But like.
I love Gears of War, man. The nuance between those two weapons, because the sword off had the range was nowhere near as the Nasher. You had to get a headshot with the Nasher, and you'd never aim, would you? You'd freestyle it. You'd do it from the hip.
Yeah, exactly.
And I get that. That took skill. Whereas the sword off, if you miss that, I would absolutely obliterate you with the sword off.
Yeah.
So again, it's they both play
like
a part.
Double edge, yeah. They play. I think, like I know, like just taking away all the hate or whatever. Both of those guns, you had to be technically good in one way or another. Being able to judge the distance, being able to really walk that line in that sense. So there was a bit of technical skills required for those two guys, I would say. But yeah, that's true. The multiplayer experience, I get it as well. But the journey you took as Kratos,
it was memorable.
I mean,
even back then, because again, we talk about this a lot. You introduced me to God of War. And I was like, you know what, I need a new game, so I bought the collection. So it was 1, 2 and 3 on the PlayStation 3, and I was like, played through them. I was like, Femi, mate, these were incredible. Never played Ascension, but I understand that's a prequel. And then the Corey Barlog God of War came, and that was the most 10 out of 10 game I've ever 10 out of 10 in my life. I don't know where I was going with that, but it was memorable. But I think in my heart it's telling me God of War. in my heart is telling me Gears of War. Not fucking hell. God of War, Gears of War. You had to pick those two games.
You know, I was like, this would be great. Okay, because we have to decide together. We have to come to
Oh,
a conclusion
okay,
together.
okay.
We can't pick
So
one.
where are you leaning? Where are you leaning on this? I would imagine you're leaning more towards God of War.
Honestly, I'm kind of leaning more towards Gears because of the multiplayer aspects.
Yeah.
You know, because I've never laughed so hard at different moments, or like I mean, that's the thing, right? Because what takes it over is the multiplayer experience. Campaign wise, I will probably give it to God of War. Not saying the campaign for Gears of War is Gears of War campaign, and that's to show you like both are epic, like really, really good, really great. But I will give it more to God of War because it's just honestly, it's like this, just by this inch. It's not even much. It's very, very. It's not even significant. It's just by this. It's just more from my experience. That's all.
Also, shout out to how they transitioned from the Greek mythology to the North mythology. That was a perfect transition. It does open doors to how where it might go next. But
that's true. I've actually had chats about that. Like, I would love to see something, let's say, for example, going to Africa, like one of the mythologies in one of the African, countries that have, because they've always done either like Egypt or
Japan.
Let's Japan or something like that. So I think it would be good to explore. But like you said, that transition to Norse mythology is absolutely seamless. So I think that's a good call out.
Yeah, it's simple. He killed everyone in Greece, so then he went. he just kept traveling until he ended up where he ended up. So yeah, it's a tough one, man. So I think by the sounds of it, we're both leaning more towards Gears of War.
Kratos, please do not bring your vengeance fury on me, on Yendimon. I do not want. I do not want to be gory executed. Okay.
We did a Let's Play, an ATF Let's Play, where we got together and we played some Gears of War 5. Don't know if you know where I'm going with this. I've got a recording where I treasure it. I was playing, I forget I was playing as a mate. He was on the opposite team. I was somewhere. I was like, oh, just turn around, and all of a sudden you were right behind me, shotgunned you right in the face, body parts everywhere, and all I heard in my ears was you screaming, and it gave me so much joy. That
remember the one before me on the rest AI was it to kill all of you?
No, I don't remember that. I don't.
Of course you don't.
Did you record this?
I did.
Really? I'm going to want to see that because I don't believe it for a second.
I do. Don't worry. I will send it to you later. Yeah, I did.
All right. He knows I've got a bad memory, so he can say these things. I'll forget about it after the show.
All recorded.
Yeah.
History to remember.
Are you looking forward to the next Gears of War?
I am. I'm curious to see how they're gonna play it. Honestly, there are moments where I actually want to just boot up Gears 3 and just play not redo the campaign, more of the multiplayer actually.
More playing was
I think
perfect.
Yeah. But I wouldn't mind doing a replay of starting from 3 all the way to 5. No, I'm looking forward to the next one.
I think there are rumors out there that they're going to do I don't know if it's going to be like a remake or a remaster of the Gears collection, and I'm kind of holding out for that before I replay them, because the first one was really good, second one was really good, and for me they just kept getting better and better.
No, you're right.
4 was good, not great compared to the Gears of War games. It's definitely
1,
near
2, 3.
the
I would
bottom.
say to me it's like the trilogy, like the holy trilogy.
Yeah, they perfectly condensed. It told the story, and it was and neither of us mentioned Judgment, probably for a good reason. But I'm looking forward to the next. I'm looking forward to the next Gears of War. Gears of War 5, I thought was brilliant. Great camp. We played that in co-op, didn't we?
Great.
Yeah.
I think to me, Gears of War 5 was more. reminiscence of the first three, like how it made me feel, and just sort of the experience that I had.
Yeah.
It's very much the same as what I had in the first three. It was good. Just great game. Just really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if I want something specific from the next Gears of War, and that's something that it has been missing from probably since Gears of War 1 is Gears of War 1, that is the horror element. And it had some very good horror elements in the first one, where you got to stick to the light, because get in the dark, the krill will kill you.
That was really good.
Right?
That was really good.
Yeah, and and when they started teasing Gears of War 4, they were showing off these nimble, I can't remember what they were called, and it's like, oh, they're bringing back the horror vibe, but they kind of didn't really do that justice, and I want them to lean into that. Before we wrap things up, did you ever play the expansion for Gears of War 5?
I don't think I did, actually.
If you did, you should, because I was talking to a friend about our top expansions of all time, and this expansion it's up there in the top 5, hands down. It told the story, told a completely different story, different set of characters, but I don't know what they did graphically, but it was incredible. Anyway, go play that. Definitely play that before you go back to the others, because it is an expansion worth playing, and it is on Game Pass. So, or at least I'm fairly certain it is. But well, let's wrap things up then. We have been talking for a while, and my voice is getting a bit sore.
Hey, for the first episode, this has been actually a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to more. We got guys, we have a lot of stuff to talk about, so don't worry, we'll keep it coming for sure.
Yeah. So I'm going to try and aim to get this set, like I said, we are recording this on the 12th of September. I'm trying to aim to get it out on the 15th. This is my first foray into video editing, so please forgive me if I don't get it out on the 15th. I'm doing my best. So yeah, this has been a lot of fun. And you know, we're going to post this on YouTube. You're going to mention it on your Twitch streams. I'm going to pop it on my website. All the fun stuff. So big thank you for watching this. This has been our first episode. We're still learning. We're still learning how to structure this thing. But if you like what you see, let us know. We will be having our eyes glued to that comment section. Thank you. Please like, please subscribe, and all that fun stuff.
Such a pro YouTuber.
Hey man, I watch a lot of YouTube. You gotta learn a few things. We probably should say that a little bit more than what we have done, because we've said it once the entire show. So
we're being very humble. We think you guys would just intuitively just do it, but please do it.
Yeah. You can follow Femi. He's at twitch.tv/A_O. No, that's not right. A_O. Oh my god, it's all there. It's right there. It's literally right over there. You can follow me at the Black Cloud Collective. That's across all the socials. And thank you for watching. Thanks for staying with us. And if you've got any suggestions for what we shouldn't be doing, let us know. Be vocal. Speak to us. We'd love to engage.
Let us know in the comments, guys. Let us know.
Yeah.
We love to chat about everything. So yeah, thank you. Very, very much.
Thank you for joining me, Femi. This has been the Black Cloud Collective, and we'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye bye.